Welcome back to Game of Pros. How you guys doing? You look good. John, it's been a while. Your beard looks illustrious and silky.
Thank you.
You look good. How you been?
I've been good, man. Living the life here in DC as a Niners fan. So there's a lot of optimism in DC. I know that's weird for Washington football team fans. They never think they're going to make the playoffs. But I think this year actually.
You're feeling good about it?
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty good about it too. D'Lo, you look good yourself. Look like you just came back from a run.
Yeah, I did. If I pass out midway through this video, it's a good thing. I'm losing a couple pounds, man. It's a good thing.
That's what's up. It's all about depriving your body of the essential nutrients in order to see that number on the scale. That's what they say is the best thing for you. All right, couple notes for today. We're missing a couple of the guys. Jeremy and Bird were slated to be on this podcast. Unfortunately, neither of them could make it. Their rankings will still be in the description, and we're going to talk about them a little bit. Before we talk about them, I would first like to say happy birthday to Gabriel Blackton. Few of you have seen Andrew Blackton, Clacky, on the podcast before. Today is his son's first birthday. So happy birthday, Gabe. Can't wait to see you as the #1 overall pick in the 2041 draft. Speaking of high draft picks, some news came out earlier today. Dolphins are going to be trading the #3 pick to San Francisco for their 12th pick. Also, their 3rd round compensatory pick is going to be 102nd overall pick they got for Robert Saleh signing with the Jets. Also, next year's first and 2023's first. John, you are the resident Niners fan among the group. What were your first impressions when you saw the trade? Are you excited for it? I guess just kind of lay it all out for us.
I guess I would preface it, anything I'm about to say, by reiterating that last year was a year lost to injury in a lot of ways, and it's in a tough division. So taking into account the fact that their defense has remained at the very least relevant, but also has a lot of really high points, and I think that their scheme is definitely suited both offensively and defensively to the same common purpose. I think that they're a better team than a lot of people think they are. The question is whether or not people would say that they need an upgraded quarterback. So a lot of people would say that Garoppolo is just a game manager, but he has had really great appearances at times. And there is no question in my mind that the move that they just made is for a quarterback, but they've also publicly said that he's their guy for the coming year. So I think that this is definitely a situation where they know what they have for right now, and they're confident that if they can't get it done this year, they'll be able to get it done with the pieces that they're putting in place in the years to come. If they got anything other than a quarterback, I would be blown out of the water. But I guess the simple truth of it is this is what happens in environments in different franchises, and it's highly scrutinized because of the implications of it. But if you look at, say, what getting Jordan Love was to the Packers while having Aaron Rodgers, it's a similar move, but Garoppolo is not Aaron Rodgers. So they might be on the clock to move a little bit faster, and that's why they made that decision.
So who do they get? Assuming Wilson goes to – I would have assumed that the 49ers inquired with the Jets for the #2, right, if they absolutely love one of these QBs other than Lawrence. So if the Jets aren't budging, then you got to assume they get Wilson. Anybody else, is it Fields? Is it Lance, you think? I saw some Twitter bots saying Mac Jones at #3, and I was like blown away.
which I don't think is.
That makes no sense to me, really.
I think that's just
Mac Jones is essentially Jimmy Garoppolo, but 4 years younger. I don't see any upgrade there, really. But as you know, I'm not a huge Mac Jones guy, so I think it's got to be Fields, Wilson, Lance. If they were to trade up and not take a quarterback, I think we would all just kind of write that management off for the foreseeable future. Am I right, John?
I think that would effectively negate all the good moves that they've made in the last few years, because it really just wouldn't make any type of sense. As far as your question, D'Lo, man, if Zach Wilson isn't picked number 2, I think that's probably the smartest thing that you could do at number 3. But if he is picked at number 2 for some reason, or trades happen, then I think that there are good fits for that offense, but that offense also doesn't have a whole lot of weapons. I think it was Cam Jordan there in 2019 during their Super Bowl run who talked about defending San Francisco and their 19 running backs that they have, or whatever it was that he said. But I think that Fields is probably the better fit. But the question is, I mean, how high can the upside be if you spent that much?
Yeah, Shanahan would have had fallen in love with one of those guys,
which isn't outside of what Shanahan
order
does.
to cover.
He does tend to pick a guy and just go with him. Evidenced by, I mean, Tevin Coleman was electric at times with the Niners and more so with Atlanta, but he was clearly there because Shanahan liked working with him. So it'd be interesting to see where they move from here. And if they don't pick a quarterback, then I think I'm going to start working on Sundays.
Well, no matter who it is, everyone's gonna say, "Oh, he's a perfect fit for Kyle Shanahan's scheme." But you could say that about just about anybody, except Nick Mullens.
Yeah, CJ Beathard was the truth. He was great.
I'd be hard pressed to find an offense that Nick Mullens is the perfect fit for. I don't know how easy that would be to do. Great. Let's see here. Okay. We want to get down to our rankings. After looking at a few of them, there are a lot of similarities between them. There are some guys that you may refer to as locks. So out of the locks, it looks like Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley. They seem to be in all of our rankings, albeit in somewhat different of an order. So let's see, is there anyone out of at least the 3 of us that didn't have all of them in their top 7? D'Lo, you had Saquon 9. Given the injury concerns, is there any kind of, I guess, what's your thought process behind dropping Saquon, who was the consensus number 2 pick last year, down to number 9 among running backs?
When I did my top 10, initially, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, I actually didn't have him in my top 10. I did it again, and I tried to stick by a couple different markers: durability, playmaking ability. That means, ability to catch and score touchdowns, and then use, right? So I tried to stay consistent, and he got in there. He's my number 9. I think the signing of Devontae Booker means that they're going to try to not give such a large workload on Sack. Did I just call him Sack? That's not
I think that's what he goes by.
Okay.
I think it is Sack
right.
for sure.
Yeah. I just, there's so many running backs, and I had a hard time thinking that Saquon's gonna come out of the gates, looking like he did, a couple of years ago. I think they're gonna ease him in, and I think the workload won't be there as much as you would have thought. To me, that, like you said, CMC Kamara, Henry, and Cook are to me, like the 4 unstoppable backs that get theirs no matter what, pretty much. But
Okay.
worried about Saquon.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I could see that, especially with the recent injuries. You don't really know if the guy that's coming back next year is going to be the same as the one that was drafted right out of college. I could see that. I was burned personally by Saquon myself. Drafted him 2nd overall. Had him for half a game last year. The injury concern is a real one. I just think that the talent on that guy is worth a slightly higher pick than that. If he is able to capitalize on that, I think he could easily be a top 3 back. But I'm with you. The durability is, could be a problem. A couple snubs. Looking at our lists, it looks like all of us had Aaron Jones. Only person in our group of 5 who didn't have Aaron Jones was Jeremy. He's not here to ask him questions about that. But I did have something I just kind of wanted to throw out for you guys. I guess I'll start with D'Lo. Looks like the only competition that Aaron Jones is going to have next year in the running back room is Dillon. Are you going over or under 100 rushes for Dillon? Give you some info. Dillon had 48 rushes last year, but Jamal Williams has been averaging about 110 over the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think 100% you're going to see Dillon get used quite a bit. Jones was a tough one for me. Even I have him at number 5 because he's been a top 5 fantasy back for a few years. I think just that offense is, the way they use him, his playmaking ability. He scores touchdowns like it's nothing. But I don't think he's going to get even his usual workload. I think they're definitely going to incorporate Dillon a little bit more. He's a 2nd-round pick just a year ago. You don't use a 2nd-round pick, just to have him sit on the sideline.
Sit on the bench. Totally. John, how do you feel about that? Similar?
Regarding Aaron Jones, I would say that he's going to produce no matter what happens. But Dillon is going to get touches. It wouldn't be something similar to, let's say, Baltimore's crowded running back room last year where you were not really sure who it is. You know who the lead back is already. But you also know that they value the lead back that they already have, and they will spell him at times. And the Packers, because they still have Rodgers, they have a way of going out real big in games and then just pounding their backup running backs into it. Hence why Dillon and Jamal Williams had so many carries, was because they were ahead in a lot of games.
Right.
So I think that the times where a touchdown can be scored or needs to be scored, obviously Aaron Jones is going to be there. He's going to be your guy. Everyone's going to focus on him. And really, there isn't a whole lot of offensive pieces around him that would complement necessarily his playing style, except for the guy that is throwing the ball. So I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to find a way to give him everything he needs to score. I think he might have, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think Dillon's receiving ability isn't top tier even for a 3rd-string running back.
He's a big dude. He's
a big dude, and he might get goal line carries, but he's probably going to get you first downs. And at that point, instead of having Aaron Jones just slam his way all the way, for a 2-yard carry, they're going to give it to Dillon, much like they did. But he's also going to take on the Jamal Jones. That is going to take on the Jamal Williams role.
Right. Good point.
I think this might be the best season he'll ever have in his life.
All 3 of us have Jones as number 5. I just saw.
Yeah, I mean, having him at 5.
Yeah, I could have gone higher.
I kind of almost wanted to put him fantasy-wise at 1, but for his pass catching ability and the type of offense they run. So it was kind of tough for me to pick that. But also durability that's a key thing. And we saw it at times last year, or in the past 2 or 3 years, I would say, Philip Rivers is the type of guy to dump the ball off. Aaron Rodgers is a guy to take shots downfield. So you're not always going to get the exact same production out of him, and he's going to have games where he has 60 rushing yards and 5 catches for 2 yards. Like, it's going to happen. But I think the sky's the limit for him. It's kind of a tough one to call, especially given the fact that this might not be exactly about running back rankings, but I think at some point Aaron Rodgers is just going to walk off the team because they're not giving him anything.
We'll see how this draft goes. I mean, I think the frustration is definitely apparent with Rodgers. He's been talking about it for years that he wants weapons. He wants someone opposite Adams. He wants these things, and you look at last year at least, and he's asking for weapons, and they draft Jordan Love, their first-round pick, quarterback out of Utah. That's probably not the weapon that he was looking for. Second round, they still had Aaron Jones, they still had Jamal Williams, and they draft Dillon, running back out of Boston College. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. It could have, when you say that Dillon is going to be the next to carry the torch after Aaron Jones leaves, and then they re-sign Aaron Jones for another 4 years. So the Packers have been kind of they've been making some puzzling moves lately, but I mean, as long as they have Rodgers, I agree. I think Aaron Jones is going to be a huge part of that offense, and I don't see him sliding farther than 5.
It looks a good handcuff.
Next step, oh yeah, for sure. We will be doing a handcuff show in the next couple weeks as well. Next step, we have Nick Chubb. Both Dennis and Bird had Chubb outside their top 10. Bird not here to discuss that. D'Lo, what was your thought process on eliminating Chubb from your top 10? Any reason why you moved him down?
So he's at 12 for me. So I still like him a lot. He was 11th last year, even missing, I think somewhere around 6 games, something like that. But again, I try to stick with my categories. Like, I think durability and use kind of play a factor again. We saw several games where Hunt was not only that third down back, but oftentimes just like that clutch game on the line, guy that was in there where a lot of fantasy points are available. I don't see that changing. They're about as 50-50 split as it gets, and probably the only team in the league where both running backs are pretty much RB2s. I had Hunt last year, and I got him really late. He was probably my best running back, but so I still like Chubb a lot, but yeah, slightly outside 10.
So where would you put? I don't know if you've done these rankings yet. Where would you put Hunt then? If Chubb is 12, does Hunt make your top 20, top 24?
Yeah, so Hunt was 10th last year, and the crazy thing is that having had Hunt last year and seeing that he didn't really produce as much when he was given that sole starting position. He was more effective at, kind of get that split back package. But yeah, Hunt's right there. I think Chubb has more, explosiveness, ceiling. I mean, that guy seems like he could take it to the house just about any play. But they're probably very close. I don't think I've put Hunt anywhere, but he's probably a little bit behind Chubb. I'd say, I think my rankings right now are up to 15. So Hunt is probably right around, 16, 17, something like that.
Within that top 20. John, anything you'd like to add on that on Chubb? I know that you had Chubb, I think, what was it, 6th? Oh, 10th. I'm sorry. 10. He just made your top 10. Any thoughts on Chubb?
He made my top 10. Yeah, he made my top 10 actually just based on the fact that despite the games that he lost to injury last year, he was still as effective as he was. And he has this almost unparalleled ability. I think Derrick Henry's the only other guy in the league that can do it. Where, as I said to you before, Mike, you look in the third quarter and he's got 18 carries for 36 yards. And then you like check into another game and you look back and he's got 24 carries for 194 yards. I'm like, what happened?
2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, he's got 2 touchdowns. All of a sudden, he's got 45 fantasy points. And you're like, oh, how did that happen? But that's sort of the nature of bruising physical running back. I wouldn't say Henry is nearly as elusive, but the difference is he more than makes up for yardage upside and touchdown potential than Hunt does. Hunt will more than likely be more consistent for a floor for fantasy. But barring that injury, he was on pace for an incredible year. So I think that it's hard to pick with a team that has 2 running backs that are that good and that different at the same time. But the fact that they were both still retained on the roster actually increases their upside exponentially. So.
Yeah, and at least last year, that was the game plan kind of for Cleveland. It was, I mean, instead of running off of the pass, you pass off of the run, right? You're going to run the ball, like you said, 50 times. And with those 2 guys, you can do that, and you're going to win every game as long as your defense holds up. So looks like it'll be a good year for Cleveland too. Next up on our list, we had Ezekiel Elliott. Jermz and John failed to have Elliott on their list. John, I guess what was your thought process for dropping Elliott out of the top 10? And then I will have D'Lo fervently deny whatever you say.
Well, I would say that it was kind of a tough choice, and it might have been almost a personal one, just because he just seems like an obnoxious guy. But what I would say is that if you look at the vast difference between Dallas's offense and defense over the last 4 years, and his best year was his first year with them.
Right.
They have way more targets to go around, so I'd say that his pass catching ability will play a factor at points, but it probably won't be the focal point of their offense because they have a lot of mouths to feed and they have a lot of people that are making money now. And you know how the Cowboys roll. They got to feed the mouths. They have to justify the decision. So I also think that their defense is probably just going to be the same. So they're going to be playing from behind. Like, I mean, what was it? 40 points a game were scored against them last year, which resulted in his worst statistical year to date. And that was even, I believe he played 15 games even last year. It wasn't due to injury. So even with Dak back, I think he will be better than he was last year. But I think that their offense is going to be predicated on erasing deficits almost from the first quarter.
That's a good.
Well, so with him being better than he was last year I think he was 9th in fantasy. Do you see? So having him outside of the top 10, is that because you think so it's not because he's going to have a worse year. You just think that other guys are going to have better years and kind of jump in front of him.
Exactly. I think that if I haven't done anything really so much outside the top 10, haven't put too much thought into it, but I'd probably have him 11 or 12. I don't see outside of, at least from a fantasy perspective, outside of really a dearth of relevant performances from defenses that are facing him. Like if they know they have to stack the box, they're going to stack the box against him, because the honest truth about it is on their offense, he's probably their best player. So they're going to try and stop him. And, random guy like Michael Gallup is going to have 14 touchdowns for no reason. And that's what happened. So.
Yeah.
I hope not. Nothing against Gallup.
I'm with you. Zeke is probably one of my least favorite players in the league, but we're clearly not getting into that today. But he was awful last year. 5 fumbles lost. His catch rate sucked. Some of the worst goal line stats he's had in his career, and he still was 9th in PPR. When I saw Jeremy's rankings, I was shocked not to see Zeke. Before last year, he was third, RB3. The year before that, RB5. The year before that, RB12 after missing 6 games, but his average was number 3. And then his rookie year, he was second. I just thought it was. I think it's a little downright blasphemous to leave Zeke out the top 10. But I do appreciate the insight that John's given about the defense. I wasn't thinking about that completely, but that's an atrocious defense, man. You have to assume they get a little better. I don't know, but I guess it's like when I see Jeremy's top 10 and I see Gibson in there, I'm like, no way in hell anyone's taking Gibson over Zeke in a fantasy draft, right? So it's not so much leaving him out. It's, well, who are you putting in there, right? But yeah, I mean, Jeremy's a 3-time champ, I believe, and John almost got there last year. So you guys clearly know your stuff.
Right. So what do we know, D-Lo? Nothing, apparently.
I feel like you guys know more than you let on. One thing I would add, just to that last part, what you said about Jacobs, finishing the last point that I forgot was that in Zeke's case, as well, being left out of the top 10, his usage is gonna be an issue. Like, no one's invincible. No one carries the ball 340 times a year, you know? So if you...
Derrick Henry does, actually.
No, I said no. I said no person. Like, not no just Olympian. Like, I don't know what he is, but Zeke is...
I wouldn't put it past Derrick Henry to rush it 400 times, but...
I wouldn't either.
I get you.
And maybe even 2 years in a row. That's possible. But the thing is...
Never happened.
The truth is right there in front of you if you're looking for it, I guess. But the other thing that is so confusing, you touched on this at the end, Mike, was Josh Jacobs, great running back, would produce stellar numbers on a team that actually knew what it was doing. I have no idea what the Raiders are doing. It makes no sense, but
right.
I think they traded or cut like their entire offensive line.
Their entire I think 80% of their offensive line has been traded or released. They signed Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, they picked up another.
When they already have Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
They spent money on another running back when they have Josh Jacobs. There was absolutely no need to do that. It's like they're tanking on purpose. This is the Black Sox scandal all over again 80 years later. And damn it, I'm sick of it. I want to know what's going on and how do I make money off of this?
Put your foot down.
Bet the under all 16 games next year. Any Raiders game.
I think they were the only ones that lost to the Jets, right? And didn't the Jets? What was the story with that? The Jets, the Raiders threw a Hail Mary.
The Jets
at the end of some game.
Everyone, including their safeties.
Yeah. The Jets blitzed 11. The Raiders threw a Hail Mary. And I think a Jet player is somehow still picked or something. I swear they're trying to lose games. I don't know why. It's some sort of satanic ritual, I'm sure, but I don't really know the details on it. Couple of guys only got a single vote from one of us, one of the 5 of us. One of them, Leonard Fournette. That one was puzzling to me. I was hoping that Bird would be here to kind of defend his point on that. We will be getting another chance to talk about that before the season starts. We're going to touch back on this probably a couple weeks before the season takes off. But any thoughts on Fournette? Did you guys like where Bird had him at 10? For me, Fournette's probably sitting around 20-ish. Even signing with the Bucs, I just don't. After last year with Bruce Arians kind of promising that Fournette would be the focal point, every 4 or 5 weeks, and then having Ronald Jones rush 35 times. Was a little confusing. I don't really trust Bruce Arians with regard to Fournette. How did you guys feel? I guess I'll start with you, DLop.
Staying away from Fournette, 100%. I wouldn't draft him if it was the last round of the draft.
Okay.
Very, very.
Not worth a 16th round pick. John, do you feel similar?
Tough act to follow, D'Lo, but I don't have Fournette anywhere, really anywhere in the double digits as far as fantasy production. Kidding, but
okay.
But I think that they're back.
RB 101.
Their backfield is too crowded, especially for the way that they run their offense, and the biggest person or the most difficult hurdle that Fournette's going to overcome to have the fantasy relevance to be in the top 10 is wearing number 12, who is going to do what he does. Patriots running backs were never good. It's part of the way that he plays. Fournette was not even, I believe he wasn't top 20 last year. Like, he had great performances in the playoffs.
Right.
At times, but that's just them scheming. So I think for fantasy relevance, no, thank you.
He's got a sub 4 yards per rush in his career, and fantasy wise, I drafted him 1 year, probably first or second round, completely derailed my season. Carlos drafted him last year, completely derailed his season. That's a toxic man. Stay away from Leonard Fournette, guys.
It's a toxic situation. I wouldn't go anywhere near either one of them. I kind of feel the same way about them that I do Jacobs and Drake. I'm just not gonna touch that. All right. John, you are the only person that had CEH in your rankings. Looks like you had him, what was it, 6th? You had him 6th. How do you feel about CEH? Why did you bump him up? I want to say last year he was, 20th or so? Fantasy rank, maybe 15th, right in that range. Why'd you bump CEH this year? I guess why are you feeling confident about him?
I feel confident about CEH mainly because they've sort of clarified their backfield situation, I think, for the first time in a few years. They've had guys coming in and out, maybe aging superstars or positional pieces, really for depending on whatever play they're running. But I believe it's just him and I think it's Darrell Williams are the two.
Darrell
so
Williams
he's really he's I would say essentially an unchallenged lead back. He's going to get those little tosses. I think that Mahomes feels maybe more human after finally losing his second game of his career in the NFL or whatever the hell the Super Bowl was last year. And I think that coming off of another year of rest, another time with really a prodigious talent, and really the defenses opposing them not having the chance to stack the way that they could against another running back, he could have mediocre play and maximize his numbers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I have CEH improving this year. He didn't quite make it into my top 10, but I do think that he will have an improvement over last year. The Le'Veon Bell experiment proved to be wrong. I think the Chiefs realized that. And Chiefs lost Watkins. They lost Damian Williams. Like you said, it's just him and Darrell Williams now. I think that his volume is going to increase significantly. And I'm with you. I think he'll have a bump in productivity. I don't hate CEH at 6. I wouldn't be surprised if he landed there or near there. Dilo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, he was drafted last year as a RB1, didn't work out. I think there's a possibility he's an RB1, but I'd probably still be comfortable drafting him as an RB2. If he's my RB1, I'm not feeling very confident going into the season. Yeah,
I mean, RB2, I'd probably have him. I haven't looked that deep into it. I would probably have him in the top 15 though, for sure. All right, let's see. We have so a couple questions here. I'll start with you, D'Lo. Just looking at a couple of things, just how you rank things. I know that you had Kareem Hunt last year. Sounds like you value him. Looking at it now, this question may be a little too easy. I'm not sure. But if given the opportunity to draft either Joe Mixon in the 3rd round or Kareem Hunt in the 6th round, who are you going?
Mixon would be a solid RB2 if I've already got one in the 1st or 2nd round, right? But I think I don't believe Hunt lasts in the 6th until the 6th round. But if he's there, I think that's a ton of value because I think there's that's an RB2 flex guy must start every week, I believe. And, you know, Chubb has some injury history. Mixon is my number 13, but there's a little bit of unknown there. He played 6 games last year. Only one of those games he rushed over 100 yards. So it wasn't pretty for anyone who drafted him. And, yeah, I think I'd probably go.
You don't believe in those flashes, those 4 games where Mixon was unstoppable last year? You're not buying into that?
Mixon?
Yeah, didn't Mixon have a stretch there? Like,
no, Mixon had 1 good game out of 6. The year before, he had his best season, I think. And there was a lot of people thinking this was going to be the year for Mixon, but it wasn't. There's just too much unknown there.
Well, now I look like a big jerk. All right. I guess I'll just go to the next question. Bird is not here to answer. We're going to go ahead and skip that. We'll post these questions in the description. John, CEH, you had him number 6 among running backs. Given the opportunity, are you taking CEH if Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, and Travis Kelce are still on the board?
At number 6, no. No, I'd probably
CH being the number 6 running back still has him as a 1st rounder, so you would take Hill, Hopkins, or Kelce over him.
I would probably take Hill. I think that
okay.
As much as I love Kyler Murray last year, I think he's in for a regression, to be honest. So I think that Hopkins is probably not going to produce nearly as prolifically as he did last year, just based on volume.
And Kelce?
Kelce, I typically don't take tight ends in the 1st round because it doesn't suit my draft style.
Okay.
It's tough for me. I rarely ever take receivers anyway.
So only Hill.
But Hill, I think, is a lock.
Okay. Yeah, totally. I'm with you. I would take Hill for sure. All right, guys. Well, we are running out of time, but it was great to see both of you. Hoping to do this again next Friday for sure. John, I wanted to thank you for joining us. I know that this isn't part of your normal routine. Hopefully you can join us again. If not next Friday, maybe early next week. But don't forget to like and subscribe, guys.